understanding the thoughts and feelings behind the behaviors on a grand scale, I think that that's good for the world. I'm John Edward McGraw. I'm a multicultural workplace expert and speaker, TEDx speaker, and I'm also the founder of the Intercultural Exchange, which is a storytelling series talking about cross-cultural and intercultural experiences. A very good question. It depends on how you look at it. I think if you're looking at it in a very scientific way, I'm sure there's a lot of discussion about chemical reactions and something to propagate the species, if we're thinking about it in a romantic sense. I think that ultimately what love is it's the feeling that someone is of great value to you, and in some cases is more important to you than yourself. Whether we're defining it as romantic love or love between friends or love of family, it's that sense that having that other person around completes your life in a way that something would be missing if they were gone. I'd say it helps us to feel more whole. Again, it comes from the idea that we are social animals, human beings. And even those of us who like to spend time alone, I think it's very rare for those of us who want to be completely alone by ourselves. I think that depends on the person. Some people can talk about that moment when there was that love at first sight, which again, maybe you could connect that to science, chemical reactions. I think for other people, it's something that builds up over time. Once you get to know people better, you get to know the other person better, whether that's love of a friend, love of a romantic partner. So, some people it would say yes, others would say would probably need to take some time. I think in my case, uh, it sort of built up over time with my wife. There was certainly an initial sense of attraction, but whether or not that was love initially or just an attraction, I think what our relationship has come into over time is a greater definition of love than maybe what it was at the very beginning. I'd say it is. Granted, we have a lot of different pressures going on today, but if you look throughout history, there have been wars, there have been other pressures. We may not have specifically had something like AI or dating apps, but there have always been marriages arranged for political convenience at times, or for family security. And in fact, historically, that's often what marriage was about securing family ties and strengthening a community or communities, as opposed to specifically about whether or not there was an initial attraction. But I think it is possible, and it all comes down to that sense, to me at least, that someone else completes you in some way, and that you'd be missing something without them around. That's how I would define my love or my wife. I'm not sure that it's a question of love itself being different. I think it's more a case of how it's expressed, or what's considered. In If we think about culture, for example, in North America, or in a lot of popular culture that's put out by popular culture, Hollywood movies, television shows. It's Love is defined as this initial attraction that happens, and fate, and so on and so forth. And this has been shown in, I guess, other popular entertainment from the past as well. But and in that case, if we're talking about expressing love, it's the idea that you have to declare it and show it through big, grand gestures and sacrifice and so on. Uh, but I think in some other cultures, love is not necessarily something you talk about or say or write great poems about. It's more about everyday actions, maybe just preparing food for someone else, or doing something without being said, just small gestures. So I think it's more about expressions of love rather than what the core feeling is. On a grand scale, I think it's a great way for cultures and for the world to grow closer together when you can build relationships with people from other cultures, getting to understand them, understanding the thoughts and feelings behind the behaviors. On a grand scale, I think that that's good for the world. On an individual level, I think it helps to, in addition to all of the other benefits of being in a loving relationship, it can help you to get a broader understanding of the world. I think about, again, my own relationship with my wife. Uh, she's from Argentina, Japanese background, and those factors have influenced how she was born and raised, and the way that she looks at the world is a little bit different than the way I grew up. Growing up in Canada, having my father, who is third generation Canadian, my mother, who's from Ireland. Uh, Simply some of the ways we express love, for example, right? She was coming from Latin America, Argentina, very, very warm, a lot of open affection, uh, kissing in public, hugging. Myself, we were a little more reserved in the way that we grew up. Uh, but we still loved each other. We met in Japan, where the expression of public affection was really considered inappropriate. So in that situation, it was something kind of having to navigate a bit about what was appropriate, what wasn't. But we still loved each other, and it was a great way to learn. And I became a bit warmer as a person as a result, expressing not just my love to her, but also with my friends and family. I feel more comfortable hugging now, for example, than I did. And I think that, just like any kind of relationship, getting exposure to different ways of thinking, different ways of expressing yourself, if you're open to it, it's an opportunity to grow, in addition to all the other benefits of being in a loving relationship. Well, the Intercultural Exchange, it's an in-person event. It's based in Toronto, at the Black Swan Tavern, happening on Tuesday, April 14th. So it's a storytelling series. The series is the Intercultural Exchange, and Love Beyond Borders is the theme of the very first event. So we will have four speakers. Each of them has had experiences with a romantic partner from another culture. So they're going to tell stories about maybe some of the challenges that they had, or different aspects of the relationships that they had with someone from another culture. There's humor involved, maybe some heartbreak, and I think that people are coming in with an open mind and are interested in hearing these stories and understanding some of the challenges that happen, and the ability to go beyond the uh, the expressions of different behaviors to understand the meaning uh, beneath what the person is really expressing. Then they can walk away with a new perspective. So it's an opportunity for people to share these stories, because, in a way, a lot of intercultural discussions have been in the academic sphere. We were talking about lots of frameworks and models, and I wanted to create something where there was more discussion just between people who aren't part of that academic discussion every day, particularly in a city like Toronto, which is so mixed, and in a world where we have 1 in 3 marriages that are intercultural. I think there's a necessity, because there are a lot of misunderstandings that happen, and this series is a way of addressing that. And if you come and watch it, then it's an opportunity maybe to learn that, hey, this has happened to me too, and I'm not alone.